These angels have brought us together and thankfully brought us fair weather. All these angels ask from us is that we speak for them, and speak we will. I'd like to thank all our guests. Some of them traveled very far for this vigil. Our first speaker is my daughter, Kirsten. She's going to tell you our story. Kirsten, would you like to come up?
September 15, 2008, in St. Joseph's Hospital, I gave birth to my firstborn daughter. When the nurses laid Kaylie in my arms for the very first time, I breathed her in and I promised to always protect her. My sick reality is that I couldn't, and even more than a year later, that's what tortures me the most. I could not spare my daughter her pain and suffering, but that is why my family chose to speak out to as many that would listen, because the victims and survivors' stories can save lives. These attacks are 100% preventable and should not be considered a normal part of life. My name is Kirsten. I am the mother of now 5-year-old Kaylie Foster, who is a brave survivor of a pit bull attack. A little over a year ago, she was savagely mauled in her face by her father's family pet pit bull on a court-ordered visit. This was an animal that I had repeatedly told my ex and my ex-mother-in-law that I did not want it anywhere near my daughter. They even had their own family members telling them that they were putting Kaylie in danger. They chose to ignore the voices of reason, and Kaylie nearly paid with her life. It was the weekend right after 4th of July. Kaylie was still only 3 years old, her 4th birthday only 2 months away. I dropped her to her father's house on a Friday afternoon, like I had done numerous times before. Little did I know those hugs and kisses were almost my lasts. The very next night, I get a phone call from her father around 9 p.m. As soon as I saw his name on the caller ID, I felt sick to my stomach. I immediately picked up the phone and he was sobbing uncontrollably. I could barely understand anything that he was saying. When I heard him say Kaylie was attacked, I knew right away who had done it to her, the 80-pound male beast they called Andy. I kept screaming at him to tell me if she was alive, and all he could tell me was, "I don't know, I think so." All I could think of was to get to her. I did not want my daughter to die alone. I wanted to hold her and be the last thing she saw. I was lucky enough to be with a friend at the time who drove me as fast as he could to UC Davis Hospital. I was hysterical, screaming the whole way there and trying to contact my family. Kaylie had to be airlifted, and we made it there the same time the helicopter did. Not long after, my father Dennis and my mother Carolyn and my stepfather Bruce showed up. I can still remember walking through the doors and down the long hallway, which seemed to go on forever, and finally to my precious baby. Her face was bandaged and there was blood all over. I can't describe the pain I felt, and even writing this right now, words cannot express how it makes me feel. No one should ever have to see their child in that condition. What made it even worse was when the pain meds finally kicked in and Kaylie kept asking for dinner. She was so hungry. While her father was off playing with his phone in a back room, Kaylie had stepped outside to ask her grandparents to feed her and didn't get more than 2 steps out the door to the backyard when that monster bounded across the yard and locked onto her face. He had to be stabbed to death by several kitchen knives just to make him stop. As Kaylie laid there in the emergency room, I watched her blood pressure drop 7 times and she was in and out of consciousness. They removed the face bandage to help her breathe better, and I finally saw exactly what had been done to her. The whole cheek was just gone. I could see her jaw and her lips were torn apart. She had a bite on her eyelid, nose, and other cheek and jugular. It was a miracle she didn't lose those things as well. All I could do was sing to her. I could only think of 2 songs that I had sung to her every night, even when she was in my belly. I just kept singing them over and over. I have Dr. Aaron Robinson from UC Davis and all the nurses, staff, paramedics, flight paramedics to thank for saving my daughter's life that night, and most of all, God. It was a miracle Kaylie survived, and I am well aware of how blessed I am as a parent. That in itself is what makes me feel so strongly about sharing Kaylie's story. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you for supporting the victims, the survivors, and their families. And most of all, I want to thank Kaylie. Where are you, Kaylie? Thank you. This little girl has brought us all here together and shown us that we can smile through our tears. Our hearts go out to all those who were not as fortunate to survive and their families. Thank you all. I would like to introduce Pam Ashley, our next speaker.
There was a day when we could walk down our streets, our tunes in our ears and our thoughts far away. There was a day that we could ride our bicycles, grins in our faces. There was a day we could come in from a long day at work and take a run just to clear our heads. There was a day we could go to our job cleaning houses, just thinking of things to do after work. There was a day when we could drop our children at the babysitter, already looking forward to seeing them at the end of the day. There was a day we sent our kids to birthday parties with the gifts in their hand and just dreading the sugar high that was coming home with them. There was a day when our children could walk from the family barbecue, twirling and dancing and singing a song. There was a day we could walk our pets knowing that any dog that came up to posture and sniff could easily be shooed back home. There was a day we could garden, tend our grapes, and work in our yards without even glancing up from our handiwork. There was a day we could ride our horses through field and stream, enjoying the unity of horse and rider. And there was a day that we could deliver the mail and packages and religious pamphlets and cookies door to door, even to the doors of strangers. But even during those days, there was a menace lurking. The menace was already changing and ending lives, but we didn't know it because we were living in a bubble. And our bubble was burst in a bloody rush of reality. Today, we exit our cars and our homes, scanning our surrounding in a sweeping reconnaissance, because we know now that the attacks are swift and they are relentless. Today, we keep our children close, and we only carry them to parks with high fences and sturdy gates. Today, we ask what kind of pets live at the houses where our children are going to be visiting. And then we ask what kind of pets live in the houses around the houses that our children will be visiting. Today, we don't carry our dogs to the dog parks, and we don't buy our pet supplies from companies whose stores have had dogs killed by other patrons fighting breed dogs. Today, we have to close our eyes and remember the kissing the eyes and nose and cheeks that we made, only to open them and see the face that a dog made. Today we see our children for the last time, lying like so many random pieces of a puzzle on a morgue table. Today we're moving past former friendships, and we are working for a cause that only the brave dare attempt. Today, we are warning people living in the bubble, and we are making a difference, and we are saving lives. Because of social media like Facebook, a sleeping giant of people affected by a fighting breed dog attack has been awakened, and we're never going to sleep again. The attacks happen too often to claim surprise every time one happens. The attacks are too deadly and gruesome to deny criminal intent whenever the owners and the blame is placed on the victims. The attacks are too destructive to human beings and gentle animals to be allowed to continue on a daily basis. Terrorism is any act resulting in a dangerous act of violence toward a human being in violation of the law, and it is intended to intimidate and coerce a civilian population, and it is to influence public policy by intimidation and coercion. By this definition, we are under domestic terrorism by fighting breed dogs. This day, October 26, 2013, we're here to grieve our dead. We're here to honor our victims, our survivors. We're here to comfort each other, but most important, we are here to send a message. There'll be a day when there are laws protecting us from fighting breed dogs never meant to be family pets. There will be a day when the public is so aware of the frequent and deadly attacks that anyone who chooses to own a fighting breed dog will be seen as the domestic terrorists they are. There will be a day when owners of fighting breed dogs that have attacked can spend their time in prison contemplating the words genetic tendency. Until that day arrives, it's our duty as survivors, friends, and family members to tell the truth to everyone who will or will not listen to us. It is our duty to keep our children away from homes, parks, and public venues where fighting breed dogs are present. It is our duty to speak up when we hear the myths and lies spouted by fighting breed enthusiasts, because they are not protecting us, our children, or our gentle animals. It is our duty to look people in the eye and say they suffer uncontrollable pain, permanent disability, recurrent reconstructive surgeries, and devastating medical expenses. As a pet owner, I carry my candle for all the animals attacked by fighting breed dogs that suffer unimaginable pain and gruesome injuries, often ending in immediate death or by euthanasia due to the severity of their wounds. Wounds that were, if inflicted by a human being on an animal, would be punishable by law. As an American, I carry my candle for American citizens under a state of domestic terrorism whose lives have been altered by the true and daily threat of random attack. I'm looking forward to a day when we'll gather together, not as a vigil for victims, but as a day of celebration of a year with no attack resulting in serious injury or death. I now want to introduce you to Tony Selesky, whose son Dominic was severely injured by a pit bull and nearly died. Tony.
You're short. Thank you. My name is Tony Selesky. I'm here with my wife, Irene. We flew here from Baltimore, Maryland, where we lived with our two boys, Jimmy and Dominic, and our dog, Retsina. And in 2007, my son, Dominic, was critically mauled by a pit bull while playing a simple game of tag. It's kind of a gruesome story, and I don't want to, I'm going to give you some minor details, but to tell you that when someone hears about a dog bite, you expect to walk down the street, see a child be crying, being consoled by a neighbor, a dog owner who is horrified by the event and who is trying to do something to resolve it. You don't expect to see your child trying to crawl up the alley from a femoral artery injury because he can't walk and he can't run home to the safety of his house, and so he's trying to crawl home and see no dog owner. That's a horrific thing. It shouldn't happen. And so I don't know that telling my story could add more to anything more horrible than what the other people have gone through. So what I want to share with you is, please don't allow people's ignorance to victimize you. Don't find some level of comfort in keeping your mouth shut because you don't want to offend your next door neighbor's wife or husband who thinks it's all the way a dog is raised. That is more insane than the person that would tell you that. Never accept that from the police, from your public official. Never accept that. That is the thing. When you lose a loved one, when you have a child injured, your job, your function, your essence of your being is to protect them. And it isn't about being concerned about anyone that doesn't have that goal in mind. So I have no problem flying here from Baltimore and talking to anyone on this street. If they want to tell me that it's the way a dog is raised, I'll engage them in that conversation. People don't run through a crosswalk, have their child run over and tie a bandana around a telephone pole and say that's the remedy, let's make the intersection look more pretty. You don't have children flying around in their cars and getting injured, and rather than putting them in safety seats, someone says, well, hey, it's all the way you drive. This is a madness. This is a madness that this is going on. This is a madness that I would have to fly from Baltimore to support people. It's an absolute insanity. But remember, the most insane thing would be to sit there and passively allow it to happen. So you pick that person, whoever it is that you are advocating for, and you advocate for them until this is resolved. That's what I want to say to everybody. Thank you very much.
Kaylie Lynn is our next speaker. She's from DogsBite.org.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. My name is Colleen Lynn, and I am the founder of DogsBite.org, the only organization dedicated to advocating on behalf of victims of dangerous dog attacks. DogsBite.org was launched in October 2007, nearly exactly 6 years ago today. Back then, it was a 10-page website that I launched after I was attacked by a leash pit bull while jogging in my neighborhood in Seattle, Washington. To my horror, when I went online after my attack to research this dog breed, the voices of these victims were nowhere to be found. There was no website representing our side. So I knew that I had to do something. Today, the website has over 2,000 pages. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and our data has been cited in a peer-reviewed scientific study. In the last 12 months, 1 million unique visitors have visited DogsBite.org. 80% of these people are brand new users. We expect many more users next year. Slowly, ever so slowly, but surely, we are helping to educate the masses. Tonight, we remember the victims of dangerous dogs who have suffered severe and disfiguring injuries. Some of these individuals have also lost their lives. We come together to honor and to remember these victims, and to do all within our power to prevent future damaging dog maulings. My theme tonight is that we must spread the message. Spread the message about the severity of injuries inflicted by dangerous dog breeds, primarily pit bulls, due to their hold and shake bite style. Spread the message that victims of these attacks suffer such traumatic disruptions in their lives, many do not ever recover. Spread the message that many of these victims never get a dime in medical reimbursement compensation after the attack. And finally, spread the message that some dog breeds are never worth the risk due to the violent injuries they are capable of inflicting. There is one more very important message that all of you need to spread. So far this year, 23 Americans have been mauled to death by dogs. Pit bulls and their mixes are responsible for 83%. That's a 23% rise over the last combined 8-year average. But here is one of the most alarming aspects. 43% of all fatality victims so far in 2013 were killed while visiting or temporarily living at the dog owner's home. That's nearly 50%. 80% of these victims were children. 90% of the deaths involved pit bulls. My organization estimates that this same scenario holds true with non-fatal dog maulings as well. So just consider for a moment, how familiar does this sound? Child in critical condition after being mauled by her aunt's pit bull. Child killed by her babysitter's 2 pit bulls while under her care. Child airlifted after mauled by her grandfather's pit bull. Child killed while spending the weekend with friends and family. So this is, after 6.5 years of research on the part of DogsBite.org, this is the message you must spread far and wide. In modern times, one of the highest risk scenarios for children occurs when the child is visiting the home of a family member, friend, or relative that owns a dangerous dog breed, primarily pit bulls. Now, why doesn't the media talk about this very dangerous high-risk scenario? Of the many dog bite injury and fatality studies that have been done so far, why do none point out this dangerous scenario? Because none of these people or entities are DogsBite.org. Our commitment to research and advocating on behalf of victims has allowed us to look more closely and deeply at this issue than any other entity before us. Our perspective allows us to connect dots that even doctors and the Centers for Disease Control have not or will not connect. Our perspective in research and trend tracking truly saves lives. Now, we've got a couple of brochures and flyers up on the table for you. One of them is themed, "It's Not Worth the Risk." And to reiterate some of the messages I've been saying, I'd like to read part of it. She suffered a fractured skull, required more than 300 stitches. She lost many teeth, had numerous bones in her face shattered. The victim in this case was a 3-year-old girl named Alora Havern, who was attacked by a pit bull while being babysat at her grandmother's home. And also, of course, living at the home was the grandmother's son who owned the dog. The girl's mother, Julie Havern, said her mother-in-law assured her repeatedly that the dog was always going to be confined to the basement. It always worried me, Julie Havern said. That was my golden rule, that my daughter never come in contact with that dog. Well, Julie Havern was close, but not close enough. If Julie had known about the high-risk babysitting, visiting scenario, she would have thought about the situation differently. If Jeff Borkart, who is not here tonight, whose son was mauled by his babysitter's pit bulls in April, if he had known about this high-risk babysitting, visiting scenario, he would have thought about the situation differently. So I really can't express how much work we have to do to tell parents about this very high babysitting, visiting scenario. And also, and this was mentioned a little bit earlier tonight, what parents must never believe or trust is the following. Never, ever believe a dog owner who says, "My pit bull is fine with my children, therefore it's fine with your child when it visits my home." Never believe a dog owner who promises to keep his pit bull or Rottweiler in a crate or in a basement while your child visits its home. When it comes to the safety of your children, never trust these types of dog owners under any circumstances. Whether intentional or not, they simply cannot ever be trusted. It is just not worth the risk. So, for instance, Julie Havern's daughter was left blind in one eye and scarred for life in a fairly horrific fashion. And And that Julie Havern's mother was so close to understanding how dangerous it was for her daughter, but not making that link. Okay, that's what happened to her daughter. And with Jeff Borkhardt, his son is gone. His son did not survive the attack. So please, help spread the message. In modern times, the highest risk scenario for children occurs when a child is visiting the home of a family member, friend, or relative that owns a dangerous dog breed. And in most of the cases, it's pit bulls. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Hello, my name is Ellen Taft, and I met Colleen Lynn at a hearing to legalize pygmy goats, and we both talked about pit bulls. And she set up my website, Families and Dogs Against Fighting Breeds. And I would like to read the names of all the 2013 dog attack fatalities. Betty Todd, 65 years old, Hodges, South Carolina. Christian Gorman Noose, 4 years old, Montgomery, Texas. Elsie Grace, 91 years old, Hemet, California. Isaiah Aguila, 2 years old, Sabinal, Texas. Ryan Maxwell, 7 years old, Galesburg, Illinois. Daxton Borchert, 14 months, Walworth, Wisconsin. Monica Laminack, 21 months, Ellabelle, Georgia. Tyler Jett, 7 years old, Callaway, Florida. Claudia Gallardo, 38 years old, Stockton, California. Jordan Arendt, 4 years old, Prairie City, Iowa. Bo Rutledge, 2 years old, Fulton County, Georgia. Rachel Hanneborger, 35 years old, Coshocton, Ohio. Pamela DeVitt, 63 years old, Little Rock, California. Carlton Freeman, 80 years old, Harleyville, South Carolina. Aiden Evans, 5 years old, Jesseville, Arkansas. Nefi Silu, 6 years old, Union City, California. Ariana Merbach, 5 years old, Effingham, South Carolina. Linda Oliver, 63 years old, Dayton, Texas. Juan Campos, 96 years old, Katy, Texas. Jordan Reed, 5 years old, Kotzebue, Arkansas. Daniel Doe, we don't know his last name, 2 years old, Gilbert, Arizona. Samuel Zamudio, 2 years old, Colton, California. Jordan Ryan, 5 years old, Baker City, Oregon. James Harding, 62 years old, was chased into traffic by 2 pit bulls and died by being hit by a car. We also have special requests for Justin Clinton, Christian Williams, Cameron Norman, Michaela Ray, Savannah Gregg, Madeline Ponce, Justin Mayers, Shay Sisson, Zach Williams, Mary Catherine Carroll, Chase Anthony Lupica, Michael Cook, Dulce Prez, Adara K. Johnson, Edna Dyson Houston, Dominic Selesky, Scotty Mason, Kaylie Baker Foster, Colleen Lynn. We would like to light a candle for all victims and survivors of dog attacks. And we would like to light a candle for all pets killed in dangerous dog attacks, including Blue. Thank you very much.
few words for you guys.
Did you know I got a set of some toys for everyone? So this says Kaylie Candlelight Vigil. We did this for you guys. So be careful of your dogs. Make sure it's not a pit bull. Wait them smell your hand like this, and be good, be brave for every single person. Okay? Bye. Thank you for coming.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of their loved one? Claudia Gallardo's sister.
I just wanted to say, thank you for having this, because our family needed something like this to bring us together. We lost a special person in our life. Her life was cut short because of a dog. She did nothing wrong, and she was a victim. And we love and miss her very much. And I hope that this will bring awareness to other people to prevent from this happening, because nobody should lose their life as tragedy as that. Nobody should ever go through that pain and suffering and die that way for no reason at all. So I just want to say thank you for having this, and I hope this grows and grows, and this is definitely going to help our family, her children that she left behind. We don't want her death to be in vain. We want her to keep living forever in our spirits. And thank you for having us.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak tonight? Okay, well then we're going to finish with the closing prayer. Tony Selesky is going to read the prayer for us.
Bear with me a little bit because it's dark and I'm getting old. But it's not even just what we say, it's powerful that everyone is here and what you'll do with that feeling you have inside. This is a prayer called For the Children, and it's a special prayer written by Avery Stafford. Dear Heavenly Father, the God who created all, the God who created all that sustains all, and has a special place in his heart for the hurting and the needy. The Father who sent his only Son into this world to be the ultimate example of unconditional love. The higher power cares deeply about the least among us. We ask now that you would hear this prayer and grant our request. Protect the children. There are kids all over the world who desperately need security, safety, warmth, and love. Many are blessed to receive it on a daily basis. Many are not as fortunate. Will you not be the God who protects the children of this world? Heal the children. We are horrified at the pain, hurt, and violent atrocities committed against the kids of this world. Even though we realize that this and circumstances are a part of humanity's existence, it breaks our hearts to see children injured and afflicted. And when these tragedies occur, will you not be the God who heals the children of this world? Bless the children. From shore to shore, nation to nation, the hopes and dreams of better tomorrow lie in the hands of today's innocent kids. So much rests on their shoulders, even to the point that it often robs them of the blessing of being a kid. Yet we believe it was your intention all along for kids to be loved, supported, and protected by those who care for them. Will you not be the God who blesses the children of this world? Rescue the children. We also recognize that in spite of our best efforts, evil does exist. There are those who would daily seek to kill and destroy even the beauty and innocence of little children. But you have the power to change hearts. renew lives, refocus vision, and ultimately save souls? Will you not be the God who rescues the children of this world? And for the rest of the world, it is time for the governments, nations, communities, organizations, churches, synagogues, compassionate organizations, towns, villages, cities, families, and individuals all across this great planet Earth to stand up together and acknowledge the great privilege and gift we have been given to love and nurture the children of our world. May they forever remain in our protection, our support, and our futures. Help us to help kids reach their God-given potential as positive, upstanding citizens. And finally, may they grow up to love their children the same way as you loved your own son. We offer this prayer to you in your son's name. Amen.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I know many of you traveled from far away. Be sure and spread the word. It's the lack of talking about it and spreading the word that is causing this to happen. There's too many myths that are spread. We need to tell the truth and spread the word. Thank you.
For more information, please visit Colleen Lynn's website, DogsBite.org. Thank you.